Okay then, in today's video we've got the stream footage that I've played on the UK Open main event live stream. This was a £1,500 buy-in with £1,000,000 guaranteed. We're picking up the action at the back end of day one with 2 levels left, and as you can see I'm chip leading the table. As you know, I like to put a show on the stream, so let's go through the hands and hope I didn't make too many blunders. Okay, so we got this spot here, the second hand of the live stream, and I pick up Ace Jack suited in +2 and open for 2.2x, stand open. And we immediately get free bet by James on our direct left in the hijack to a decent size, nearly 7 big blinds here. And in game, I felt like he wouldn't be coming after me too much. He knows I'm a competent player and there's definitely easier spots at the table. So in game I read this for a lot of strength, to be honest, and I just felt like although my hand is strong and in theory I should always be calling with a hand as strong as Ace Jack suited, I just thought I'd get in a lot of trouble by continuing with this particular hand. As we can see, he had Ace 5 suited, so I was actually in great shape, but I think on the whole he's going to be pretty strong here, so I'll let this one slide. I think there's easier spots to make chips. So the next hand that we're looking at here is the direct next hand after getting 3-bet and folding. And this is actually a bit of a dicey open, to be honest. Ace 3 off from +1 is definitely not in the opening range, but I thought I'd sort of set a statement here. After being 3-bet, I want to let people know that I'm not scared at all. Like, you can 3-bet me and I'm happy to fold and I'll just open the next hand. Like, I'm really not worried. You see a lot of people open, get 3-bet and then tend to play a bit more passively, but I think this shows my intent. On the live stream, I'm going to be looking to get in as many hands as possible and sort of pushing it a lot. So, although this isn't an open, we got the job done and picked up them chips we lost in the last hand, back to where we was. Now picking up that action in the direct next hand. So this is the third hand in a row that we've opened, and the table will definitely be noticing this. But lucky for us, we've actually got a premium this time. Ace Queen suited under the gun, put in the open, same size as the previous 2 hands. And now it's with our friend Steve Watto, +2 with a pair of 7s. He is playing around 23 big blinds here, so I think he's got no decision other than to just call. I think it's too much to jam. And we see the action fold round to the big blind. I'm just going to skip it forward. So the big blind wakes up with pocket 6s, and he's going to come along for the ride. So we're going 3 ways to the flop. Let's see what it brings. Flop comes 3-9-3 rainbow, so a very dry flop. From under the gun, I'm really not going to have much 3x. Maybe 2 combos, Ace 3 of diamonds, Ace 3 of clubs. Other than that, it's very difficult for me to have a 3. And the big blind being in the pot, he definitely can have some 3s, although not many. But I think we want to play a lot of check on this flop 3 ways. Steve has quite a strong range in +2 when he calls. So I think we'd check a lot of hands. Obviously here we have ace high, but even if I had a pair of 10s, pair of jacks, pair of queens, pair of kings, pair of aces, I'd probably still opt to check. So we see Steve bet just over 3 blinds and the big blind calls. Now, I'm actually uncapped here. As we discussed, I would be checking a lot of the hands I get to this position with. So it doesn't necessarily mean I haven't hit this flop. So I actually thought this was a good spot to use ace queen suited as one of my bluffs. So as you can see, I raise it up to 24,000, 3x what Steve has bet. And should he decide to go all in for his 58,000, I'd be getting a great price, and I'd just call off against a perceived range, which is going to be a lot of the hands like he's got. 6s, 7s, 8s, maybe 10s, but I think he would probably have got that in. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on these holdings, because like I say, I can still have a really strong hand in this spot. And both of my opponents are sort of capped when the action goes like this. So I think this was a strong play. And should they get a bit sticky and decide to call one more, there's a lot of good turns for me. Any overcard is a perceived scare card. A club would be a good one. Obviously an ace or a queen would hit my exact hand. And I think there's just a lot of ways I'll be able to win this pot. And I just think that the big blind would choose to raise with a 3. So as we see, we get the 6s to fold, we get the 7s to fold, and we take down this pot, and we're up to over 200,000. I think that was a nice play from me here. So the next spot that we do have is a few hands later. We've gone through the blinds, we're now on the button. And this player to our right had been playing quite a few hands, so when he opens off of 40 bigs and we find a suited king on the button, I choose to go for the aggressive route and put it upstairs to just under 7 big blinds. I think this is good play. I think all of his offsuit king X is going to fold, so we get king 10, king jack, king queen, all offsuit to fold. So when it does come king I, we're going to have the best hand quite a lot. So I think this is nice play in principle. However, our friend Watto wakes up with pair of eights in the big blind, and he's now down to around 22.5 blinds, and he's debating his options, and I think he finds a really good spot to 4-bet send against a perceived weak opener who's opening a lot of hands, and then a very aggressive player on the button with me who he knows likes to 3-bet and put a lot of pressure on. So he's looking at the 28k in the middle thinking, that is half my stack out there, and if I can get this through, it's a fantastic spot. And he finds the shove, which is great play. King Jack gets out of the way, and now it's back on me with a bit of a disaster situation. And you can see I'm talking to him here because I actually had the same spot against his very good friend JK in a previous festival where I had King 8 suited and I ended up calling off and got very lucky against Ace Queen to bust JK. And I'm telling Steve about this story and saying, I remember last time when I talked about the hand afterwards, I was told that I meant to fold, even getting 2-1, which you can see I'm getting here, 39 to win a pot, which has 81 in it, so over 2-1. But against the hands that Steve would do this with, we just don't have the right price. So I make the discipline lay down, and I'm happy that I did find that, because my previous self probably would have just flicked it in and tried to get lucky. Okay, so the next time we get in the action, we're now in the hijack with ace 3 suited, and we see under the gun open off of just over 30 bigs. And I've played with Phil a bit, and he's a very solid player, so I think he's going to have quite a strong range. Usually ace 3 suited here in the hijack would be a 3-bet or fold, but I think I can get away with calling here because I think people just aren't squeezing enough behind, and I think I'm going to go in position to the flop quite often here with a hand that flops fairly well, and it's not like it becomes ace high I'm just going to stack off. And we do see that ace high flop, but it does come all clubs, and as you can see neither player has a club. When it goes check check, I think it's an easy check back for me. I don't want to bloat this pot, just trying to get to showdown. And we see a 4th club on the turn. As you can see neither player has a club in hand. I do my fake tail and pretend that I'm looking to see if I've got a club in my hand, even though although I know I've got 2 hearts, but I do this every time in hands. And I actually decided to bet 25%, which seems a bit strange, but I just thought, I think he's the sort of player that would just bet at some point if he had a club in his hand. So I don't think he's got a flush. So I think I've got the best hand very often. If I check back, 1 in 4 times the river comes a club and we're going to chop the pot. And if he's got any kind of like straight draw, he's got some equity against my 1 pair. So I decided to bet a quarter of the pot, thinking that he's going to play pretty ABC against me. And we decided to take it down here, back up to nearly 200,000. So then we're getting straight back in the mixer not long later, opening from +2 with the old ace 3 offsuit again. The same position, same hand, and as we said last time, this is not an open, but I'm taking liberties. And as we see, Lewis on the button hasn't played a hand yet on the feature, decides to make a stand and puts in the call with king 6 suited. This isn't really a hand I'd be looking to call with, probably play 3-bet or fold, but he does choose to call. And we get Phil coming along from the big blind, also with 2 spades, with Queen Jack of spades. Now, let me just pause the video here. As you can see, Lewis is actually wearing the same patch that I'm wearing here. Oh, he's wearing the same patch I'm wearing here, all in events. Now, you're going to be asking, what is all in events? And this is something very exciting. I'm actually partnering with All In Events, who are a poker raffle company who create opportunities for your everyday player to play an event like this. So Lewis, that we can see here, he entered the raffle, which was £4 per ticket. He bought 5 tickets to that raffle, so £20, and he came out the winner of the £1,500 seat and got the opportunity to play this prestigious event. Now, there's going to be a lot more exciting opportunities coming up, and I won't share too much, but be sure to check out All In Events. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, or just directly by their website, and check out what raffles they do have coming up. And it could be you getting to come and play one of these events. When I spoke to Lewis, he'd never played a tournament over £300, and here he is playing £1 million prize pool and holding his own. So fair play to Lewis. Let's see how he fares in this hand against me, who is clearly in a bit of a mood trying to play too many hands. Roll the footage. So after Phil does come along, what will the flop bring? There's some potential exciting flops for these particular hands, and we find one of those. It comes 2-3-4 with 2 spades. Now, I've got ace-3 with the ace of spades. Middle pair, gut shot, backdoor nut flush draw. It's a decent amount of equity, but I don't like my bet here. I choose to bet 20%, just thinking that I get away with a lot. I get a lot of marginal hands to fold, jack tens, queen jack, king queen, like all these hands just have to fold the flop, and it makes it fairly easy to play. But I think this was my first error. Betting 3 ways on such a dynamic board with the big blind still in, I think it's just bad play. So I'm already not happy with how I've played this hand, but we actually got the best hand here so far until the king of diamonds comes on the turn, which gives Lewis top pair to go along with his flush draw. Now, when they both call on the flop, I think alarm bells should be going. They've got probably a fairly strong hand, and I should be shutting down here. In game, I was thinking Lewis is going to have a lot of like 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and it's really difficult for those to call another barrel because against the perceived value range, they're probably going to be drawing close to dead. So I understand why I decided to bet, just trying to put the pressure on, knowing that Phil's quite a tight player, knowing that Lewis, this is potentially quite a big spot for him. I think I just got in my head too much and was trying to put too much pressure on. So I actually bet 2/3 here, which sort of sets up stacks should Phil continue, but he does choose to fold his queen eye flush draw, and we're heads up now with only a 9% chance of winning. And the 9 of spades comes on a river, which is really to our detriment because in my head, unless he's got a king high flush draw, I don't think he's ever got a flush. That was what I concluded in game. I'm like, he's either got king x of spades or I'm going to win this pot. But the time he's got king x of spades, I don't think I want to go all in. I think that's too much because I don't think he's going to fold. So I opted to bet the size of the pot, 71,500. In hindsight, I hate this bet. If I don't think he's got a flush very often, I'm only trying to bluff a perceived 1 pair hand. So I don't think I necessarily need to go this big to try and get those hands to fold. And the times that he does have a flush, like the king high flush that he does have, he's not folding. And he eventually does make the call, and we send over many, many, many big blinds to the raffle winner, which I think is a good look. Win a ticket, get on the table with one of the partners, and they're going to dust it off to you. So here we are with 38 blinds, 94,000, having dusted it off, and Lewis is absolutely cooking at this point. This was definitely my biggest blunder on the live stream so far. Let's see how we go. So then we had a 2-hand respite after dusting it off to gain composure and go again. So here we are in the big blind, and we see Phil open from the cutoff off of 24 blinds with a pair of 8s. The player in the small blind has been getting involved in a lot of hands, and he continues here with 6-4 suited out of the small blind, which it seems reasonable. I don't mind it too much. Folds round to me now in the big blind, and we have got a suited queen facing a min raise, so definitely getting involved. And we're hoping for a good flop after dusting off many chips in the last hand we played, and bang, there it is, 10-5-3 all clubs. That is me. We flop a flush. As you can see, I've got a 98% chance of winning this hand. Now, in theory, we would never play any leads 3 ways on this flop. We'd always probably just want to check and play in flow to the razor. But bear in mind, they have just all watched me blast my life away 3 ways with just middle pair and the nut flush blocker. So I think I get to do whatever I want. I choose to lead out here thinking these guys are not folding to me. They've just seen I am just going ham. Like, I've just shown I've opened ace-3 off from +2. I've bet the flop 3 ways when I shouldn't. I've bet the turn 3 ways when I shouldn't. And I've bluffed the river when I probably shouldn't. So I'm just going to do what I want now with my value. So after flopping a flush, I donk out. 2.2 bigs. Get the call from Phil, who's drawing close to dead. 2% chance of winning the hand. And then the player in the small blind with his up and down straight draw also comes along with 0% chance to win the hand. This is a good spot for me. Hoping for a clean run out, and it's better than a clean run out. We see the 7 of spades on the turn, giving the small blind a straight. Still drawing dead, with Phil also now drawing dead. So when the small blind checks, I think there's nothing else to do but try and size this pot to get stacks in by the river. With my image, I think I'm going to get paid a lot of the time here, and just hope no one's got a higher flush, which would be very unfortunate. So here I am. I think I bet 19,000 into 33, around 60% of the pot, setting up a stack size shove on the river. Phil here, just 2 eights, nothing he can do. So I'll fast forward a bit, and he's thrown them in the muck. Now the small blind is eyeing up my stack, and I'm getting very excited. He definitely has something here, and I don't think he's folding. So when he does make the call on the turn, I am absolutely licking my lips. If he somehow has me beat, this is a mega caller. We've built the pot to 71,000, and I've got 63,000 back. The river comes clean, doesn't pair the board, no more clubs, and we're ready for it. We check the size of the pot, making it look like we've got a big decision. There's a 4-liner out there, so if he has got a 4, he's definitely not folding. So we take our time, pretend we've got a big decision, and we bet all but 1 chip, and we get snap called. When he snap called, I'm like, wow, has he got a king eye flush? But no, luckily, he just had a straight, and he pays us off. And just like that, all them chips we dusted off a few hands before have come right back to us. The advertising costs really did pay off here, and I'm back to exactly 197,500 where I was just before. So after dusting it off, the poker gods did reward me with a value hand, and we get the maximum. This was a well played hand, I think. I like the donk lead. Let me know what you think, because this is not a conventional play, but I think given my image, it was good play. Now then, we are back in the driving seat with a big stack, and we're on the button, so we're ramping up the aggression again, opening the 10-9 off from the button. Now, James very quickly calls off of 30 bigs, which I'm not sure how to perceive this range, because I think he would play aggressively with some of his better hands. So I was thinking he had some like small pocket pairs, maybe some like middling suited stuff, like maybe 10-9 suited, similar to what I've got, Jack-10 suited, these sort of hands. So when the flop comes 5-5-3, I don't think I want to use a small sizing, because I think it makes it easy for like ace high hands to continue. These small pairs are not going to fold, so I decided to size up 3 ways and bet half the pot. I would do this with my overpairs, 9s, 10s, jacks, just trying to get the maximum from these pocket pairs. And we do see James make the call, and Watto gets out of the way. Going to the turn, which is the ace of clubs. Now, in actual fact, this is actually a bad card for my range, because I don't expect to have many ace-x when I bet half pot on the flop, because those hands are probably just going to check back. So I think I can get away with this, because I feel like James wouldn't recognise this, and he'll just see it as a scare card. So I decided to opt for half pot again, which is setting up stacks. And to be honest, if he called the turn, I probably was just going to shut down, because I think he's going to be too strong. As we see, he pretty much snap folds the 8s on the ace turn. So this was a really good outcome, and we pick up another pot back at our peak, 218,000. Let's go. The player that we just took most of the chips from with the queen 4 shoves from +2 for 33,000, which is 11 blinds, and I straight away looked down at king queen offsuit in the hijack. Now, in theory, I think, again, this is going to be a fold. Even though we do well against his perceived range that he would shove with, there's just too many players behind. We've got 4 players behind us that can wake up with a decent hand. But when I think about it more, I'm like, this guy had a lot of chips when I sat down, and he's now very short with start stack. There's still more flights to play. So I think he can be going wider than maybe he should be, because he's looking to double up or get back in, I would imagine. Now, when you look at the stacks behind, after the last pot, James has now only got 60,000 or so. So if I call and he shoves, I'm going to call the extra 30,000. Now, Steve Watts has got a bit more, 110, so I can call and fold to him. Lewis on the small blind, big stack, obviously folding if he puts some chips in. And then Max in the big blind has only got 40,000, so another 10,000. So I was committed to him. So I actually like this call, and it works out really well because he has queen 10 offsuit. So we're actually dominating, and we're a 70% favourite to take down another pot and dispatch of this player. So let's see what the run out brings. It was a pretty brutal one for our opponent because the way the dealer dealt it out, you could see a 10 first with a king behind it. Unfortunate for him, so he's down to just 2 outs, needing to find one of the remaining 10s in the deck. It does pair on the turn, but not the 10 he was looking for. So just 2 outs, 6% chance, and it was showers for him. And we're up to 260,000, building our stack up nicely after that massive blunder with the ace-3. Okay, so the next spot, I'm in the big blind, and it folds around to Trev. Very solid and experienced player on the tour. He's got 20 bigs, and as you can see, he calls for, well, he counts out the 1500 as if he's going to call, and then he adds some chips to it and ends up raising. I found this a bit strange, didn't really know what to make of it. But I guess now in hindsight it makes sense. He had King 9, which is a hand that considered limping, and then he thought, actually, no, I'm going to raise it. So it sort of was a middling hand. And I look at ace 4 off, and for 20 bigs against most players, I'm just all in. I've got an ace blind with blind. If you can show me better, you can have it. But against Trev, I just thought he's not going to have these, like, wide still hands that other people might try off 20 bigs. I thought he was probably just going to have a decent hand most of the time. So I thought just call in had some merit, and we'll just play low variance. So we do call, go to a flop, 10-8-8 with a flush draw, and he checks it to us. I don't see any merit in betting. I don't think he folds anything better. I don't think he calls him anything worse. So just decided to check back, try and get his hand to showdown. On the 9 of hearts turn, he checks again, and same logic applies. Just trying to get my hand to showdown for as cheap as possible. I can potentially beat hands like King Jack, King Queen. So it's not like I'm always losing. When the river comes to 6, he checks again. Now I'm like, well, I'm probably losing, but I don't think he's the type of person that's just going to fold to me. So decided to just give up, and happy that we did, as he's never folding King 9 here. So we get away for the minimum. Obviously, if we did shove pre, it would have worked, but I'm happy that I took the passive route because my image was absolutely in the bin here. So I think this was good play. As you can see, JK, who we mentioned earlier, has just joined the table as well. This should be fun. Now then, after that hand, blind beat blind with Trev, we don't actually find a playable hand for quite a while until we look down at Ace-King suited under the gun. Absolute wonderful sight. The blinds are now up to 3,000, so we go ahead and raise to 6.5, 2.2x, same size we've been using the whole time. When it folds around to Phil on the button, we see he's got Ace-Queen suited here and playing just 20 blinds, which would be more than fine to just jam against someone that's opening as wide as I am. It'd also be fine to 3-bet induce to call off a shove with a hand as strong as Ace-Queen suited. But he does something a bit unconventional here and actually decides to flat call. I'm not sure what the logic was behind here. I guess he's effectively trapping me, thinking his hand is so good and I'm going to have so many trash hands. I guess, or it was actually the final few hands of day one, so maybe he was just trying to play cautiously and find the bag without having to rebuy and play the whole next day again, which there's some merit to, I won't lie. So he does call. Let's see what the flop brings. King 9-9 rainbow, wonderful sight for me, and I just don't think he's going to have a 9 in his hand very often. He's a very snug player. So I just go ahead and bet this flop, thinking my image is, well, they think I'm just wild, which I've played pretty wild here, to be honest, when we've gone through these hands. Like, I've definitely been in the mix, so I think I get away with just betting my hands when I've got a good hand. And as we see here, we do get the call from the ace high with the backdoor flush draw. So good result so far, getting a hand that's just 4% to put some money in. Now, when the turn comes to 8 of diamonds, this is his perceived gin card because he's now got the nut flush draw to go with ace high, which could already be winning. And in my head, I'm thinking when he calls the flop, he's just going to have a king a lot of the time. King Queen, King Jack suited, King 10 suited. There's a lot of these hands out there, despite me having a king in hand. So I'm just going to go for the max and bet again on the turn, around half pot here now, setting up stacks on the river. And as we can see, he's got a mandatory call. His hand could be winning with ace high, but he can also improve to the flush. So easy decision for him here. And after some time, he does make that call. The pot is now up to 62,000 and he's got 32,000 back. So half pot, the same as what I bet on the turn. We call this geometric. So I've gone geometric size in, set up the same size on the turn as the river. That river is beautiful. King of diamonds giving me top boat and bringing that flush in. So when I think about it for a while, in game I definitely thought he had a king and we was now chopping, but I thought in case he somehow got a 9, maybe 10s, like if he somehow got a flush, we just need to go for the max. So we do send it in and we do get a snap called, which I thought in game meant he had a king, and then when he showed his hand, he actually had a flush. So I actually found him after this and apologised because I think I probably made him think he was winning when I reacted like that. But my reaction was because I thought when he snap called he had a king and he'd found a way to chop the pot. So yeah, but he totally understood that and there was no bad feeling there. So we win a nice pot right at the end of the day, and we're now at our peak stack 312,000 with just a few hands left of the day. Now we get another spot come up straight after the ace king. We're in the big blind and we see max open off of 25 blinds in the cutoff, and then Johnny Kelly calls in the small blind off of 50 bigs. We look down at ace 8 suited. Against max heads up, I may have jammed ace 8 suited, just thinking he's going to have a lot of fringe opens. Doesn't want to really call off this late in the day. Get some better hands to fold, ace 9, ace 10, ace jack. But when Johnny calls in the small blind, I'm happy just to take my hand 3 ways. With a decent hold in, can make the nuts with this hand. I think it's fine. Flop comes ace 6 deuce. 2 spades, 1 club, no diamonds in sight. And we see Max continue for 25%, as he will do with a lot of holdings here. And when Johnny eventually makes the call, as we can see, he's got ace 10 here. I don't think we can do anything but overcall. We can still have the best hand. Johnny's still going to have like ace 7 suited, ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited, ace 3 suited. He might still have some like 7s, 8s, 9s with a spade, like hands we can beat. And obviously you can have some flush draws as well. But I need to still play cautious as it's 3 ways and our hand isn't very strong. So we put in the 2 blinds, go into the turn, which is the 7 of diamonds. Doesn't really change anything unless someone has ace 7. So when Johnny checks, we're going to play in flow and check the turn as we would do with pretty much everything here and see what Max wants to do. So that's what happens. Check from John, check from me, and it's on Max sitting there with just king high, no pair, no draw, drawing dead. He makes the wise decision and takes a 3 card because I don't think he was getting through both of us with top pair. 3 ways to the river, which is a pretty spicy card. It's the 10 of spades, completing the front door flush and some backdoor straights and obviously 2 pair for Johnny. Johnny found a really, really neat check here with top 2 because I think it's going to be hard for him to get value from worse, and he also gives people the chance to bluff. Obviously, he knows I like to bluff. Max is capable of bluffing, so I like his check here. When it comes to me, I've got nothing to do but check. I can't get called by worse, can't get better to fold, so I'm just in showdown mode. Now, it comes round to Max, who has got nearly 2x the pot, and as we can see, he's got the king of spades blocker, which is the nut flush blocker. And he actually decides to put that to work. He jams, well, effectively jams. He leaves himself a little bit behind. But he jams for nearly 2x the pot using that nut flush blocker. And now, in my head, for some reason, I really didn't buy this. I don't know why, because Max would check a lot of his flush draws on the turn. He doesn't want to get check raised. And he wants other people to realise when he's got the nut flush draw and they've got a weaker flush draw. There's a lot of merit to checking if he had a flush draw. But for some reason, I don't know, I just felt like he was bluffing here. Maybe leaving the 8.5k back. Like, does he go all in when he's got the flush? Maybe he just leaves 1 big blind behind when he's got the flush rather than 8.5k. I don't know, there's a lot of things going through my head. As you can see, I'm looking at Max here, trying to get a read, and I'm really not buying it. But when Johnny does call, it makes my decision easy because I can't call overcall. And as we see, Johnny's made the call of 2 pair and he does beat the king high bluff of Max. As we can see, the Clacton Duster comes over to see what's going on and sees that it's not me dragging this pot in, which has been the case for a lot of the other hands. But I think I played this hand well. I think John played this hand well. I think Max played this hand well. So, well played to all. Okay, so I think this is the final 3 hands, and what a beautiful sight. Folds round to me in the small blind, and we find 2 jacks against James, who has got less than 20 blinds here. And with my image, I'm like, oh my god, give him anything here. Any ace, he's sending it in. Even like king 10, I think he's sending it in. Like, give him anything. So we raised to around 2.8 big blinds here. I think pretty standard size in that his stack depth. He's playing around 18 blinds. But unfortunately, as we see, he's got queen 4 off. And he's not going to give us any action here. But I'm pretty sure if he had anything reasonable, he would have. And we're polite. We show him the jack, show him that we've been running hot, and he taps the table, says nice hand. Okay, so this is the next exact hand, and I think it's the penultimate hand of the day. Max has left himself with 3 blinds, and he's put the remainder in. Now, Max is a good guy, and I thought, let me give him the spin. He's just given a lot of action there with the big bluff, and he doesn't want to be bagging 3 big blinds in this huge tournament. It was overlaying, so I decided to give him a spin. I actually called blind here, which is not recommended, but look, if he wins this pot, he's got 25k, which is close to start stack, so, and it really doesn't hurt my stack. It's less than 3 blinds. Obviously, I've got the overlay from the big blind, the ante, and the small blind, so we're getting like 2 to 1, and he's going to be shoving, not any 2, but most of the deck here, because he doesn't want to go through the blinds, he doesn't want to bag such a small stack. And as you can see, he's got queen 4. We're actually in good shape with king 8. But when he flops 2 pair, we're in bad shape. The ace of the turn does give us some hope. And you know how lucky I am. I was feeling this coming. But the jack on the river does not help us. And we give Max a well-needed double here. Nice hand, Max. So after Max jams the last hand of the day, that was it. And we were putting chips into the bag. As you can see here by the chip counts, we managed to bag 3rd highest stack in the flight. And by the time day 2 was put together, we was actually the 4th biggest stack in the room. So, great day's work. This was my 2nd bullet in the tournament, having played day 1B, busting late on after a lot of unfortunate hands, to be honest with you. I think I played well, just didn't go my way. But we got back in for day 1C, played well, ran up a big stack, and bagged 10 start stacks, good for 100 big blinds for day 2. Great day's work. I think I like how I approached the stream. I was putting a lot of pressure on. I was playing a lot of hands. I was putting my weight around. I just think the main takeaway here from the ace 3 hand, where I did bluff a lot off, is rein it in when people start putting big amounts of chips in, because most of the time people just submit quite quickly. So when they do start to put a lot of chips in, I think this is a big red flag to say, okay, let's slow down, let's give up here. And I would have saved a lot of chips if I'd taken that advice. But luckily, things went my way after that point, and it still worked out. But I think there's some big takeaways here and some learnings that you can also take from the way I've played these hands. So let me know what you think about these hands, and we'll get into day 2 footage very soon. So we are now on to the day 2 footage, and as you can see, the prizes are on screen. 950k prize pool in the end, making a 200k first prize and 3.6k for the last 84 players. We are 85 left here, so it's on the direct bubble, and we've gone on the live stream. You may have noticed that I've now got the light on as it is night time, but we are ploughing on through, so let's get into this. Right then, straight into action here. In first hand, I get dealt 6s under the gun. I'm only playing 32 big blinds and we're on the direct bubble, so they go straight into the muck. There's actually further reasons for this. Have a look at this seat draw. These players are all extremely accomplished, not quite the table that we had on day 1, but this is to be expected when you're at the business end of these tournaments. It's day 2 now, we're playing for the money and we're on the direct bubble. Let's see how we get on this star-studded table. So we've now got into the money and it's time to play some hands, no more folding. We see Rob Cohen open up from +3 or low jack, and we're in the big blind with 6-3 suited. We make the call and go to a flop, hoping to flop some nice equity. When the flop comes 10-9-7 rainbow with 1 club, it's not quite the flop we was hoping for, and we'd love to see a free card here. After we check over, we see that Rob decides to check back. Going to the turn, hoping for a club, but the king of diamonds does not really cut the mustard. I'm pretty done with this hand, so when I check it over, I'm ready to check fold. Rob is also happy to get his hand showdown, and he checks once more, so maybe we can do some stuff on rivers here. But when we river a 6, we've now got some showdown value, so I decide to check it over once more and hope that we can beat a hand like ace-queen, ace-jack, maybe 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s. I think he's going to have all these hands and we can beat those. But when we check over, after checking back twice, Rob is now deliberating betting. And we finally see he comes up with a size of 24k, just over half the pot. And to be honest with you, this confused me. Initially, I went to snap fold. Like, as you see here, I pick up my cards. I was just going to snap fold. That's how I think about it. And I was like, he's sort of, I don't know. It feels like he's just repping a straight now. Like, does a king take this line? Like, what two pairs does he have? And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, he's basically saying he's got a straight. And I'm like, if he has got an 8 in his hand, would he not have put some money in the pot before the river? So I actually become really confused here, and somehow ended up using a time bank with our 5th pair here on a 4-liner, which I did not expect, because as I say, my initial instinct was just to fold. But then when I break down the hand further, I'm like, is he really going to take this line as a bluff? And like, where did the bluffs even come from? Like, hands like ace jack, ace queen probably choose to barrel the turn. So like, if the bluffs are just coming from like 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, do they really take this line? Like, what's he trying to get to fold? So in the end, I did find the fold, even though I had to deliberate for some time. But as you saw, he had 2 8s, which made a lot of sense in hindsight. But I'm glad we got away without the extra 3 big blinds going to him. This spot comes up a few hands later when we're on the button with ace queen. We're playing 28 blinds, but our opponent's the effective stack, as he is playing just 23 blinds. So this is a hand that's good enough to get it all in, so we definitely want to be 3-betting. I like the fact I've chose to 3-bet. I just think I maybe used too big of a size. I opted for 7 big blinds almost, which I think is just a little bit big. I think we want to go, if we was bluffing, like, we want to have room to fold when he rejams. So I think I actually went too big here. I think I could have gone maybe 6 big blinds, and I went nearer to 7, but pretty minor point. As we see here, he's got ace jack suited and we have him dominated. So getting that hand to fold isn't really a big win, but chipping up is always nice. And we're up to 33 big blinds after this hand. So I'm in the big blind here again, and I'm playing 31 big blinds. And it's the same customer. Rob has opened on my big blind, but this time I've actually got a strong hold in, 2 10s here. I think it's too strong just to jam, so I opted for a 3-bet non all in. And the sizing's important here because, again, we want to be able to have bluffs. So I think I opted for, 8.2 big blinds. And I think this is a nice size, to be fair, this time. Out of position, we're putting in around 25% of our stack. So we can still have bluffs for this size. As we see, he had ace-8 offsuit. And it's an easy fold, and we pick up a pot up to 280k. A few hands later, we find ace-jack offsuit in the hijack. We see Sean open from +2, and Sean has got a huge stack here, but he'd actually been playing very solid so far. So I think the best play for me here is to 3-bet and then fold to a 4-bet jam. So I opted to make it 50k, which is just over 6 blinds. I think this size is good. Started the hand with around 35 bigs, so I think it just makes the hand easier to play. I don't think we get to flat ace-jack offsuit in the hijack. So it's a question of 3-bet or fold, and I think in these spots taking the aggressive route is usually better, especially when you've got competent players that are going to open all the hands they should be. And it's a big win when he lets us have one with Queen 10 of diamonds. He's a good guy, Sean, and he agreed to wear the patch on stream, so we was both sitting there with our all-in events patches on all day, which was good fun. Example of how the tournament changes as you go through the different phases. Yesterday you saw me opening a lot of weak hands, but when you get on a table with tough players, we see Sean here folding the King Jack with the big stack, folds around to me in +2 with Queen Jack. And again, this is just going to go in the muck because we're just not going to get to play effectively enough against the better players with such a weak holding. And we have to be much more selective about the hands we choose to still with. So this is just a takeaway to adapt to the players that you are playing with and the stage in the tournament that you're at. This is 66 players left in the main event. So after folding for quite some time, it really wasn't the great day of card distribution. We actually find a hand here, and once again, it's our nemesis, Rob Cohen, opening our big blind. This is the 3rd time in this session. He's absolutely coming off our big blind, but luckily, we just keep finding good hands in the big blind. So we've got 10s again here, and it's pretty much the same spot as last time. However, now Rob's a bit shorter. He's opened off 20 bigs. I still think it's too strong just to jam. I think there's room to try and let him have some 4-bet bluffs. But where he's got 20 bigs, I don't think we want to make it 8 big blinds because it's too committing. That's 40% of his stacks. We need to go smaller. I think I use a size of just over 6 blinds. Yeah, 6.2 blinds here. And unfortunately for Rob, for the second time in a row, he's got a pretty bad holding and they're straight in the muck and we're chipping up again. He must think I 3-bet my big blind so wide every time he opens. So as I'd alluded to already, we had a pretty competent table and they'd all been playing pretty aggressive here. Sean folding the ace-4 did surprise me, but it did mean we had an unopened button for the first time in forever. So here we are, 10-8 offsuit, it gets in there, probably one of my worst opens, but happy to open this one up with an unknown player in the big blind. After Icky has a bit of a hand funeral for his 6-3 suited in the muck, we then see Jake defend his big blind with a nice hand here, Jack-9 of hearts. There's potential for some action here with the two holdings that we have. Let's see how the flop comes. Going to the flop, he's got 20 bigs behind. There's 6 in there. So we see a flop of King 10-8 rainbow. Wow, this 10-8 off has worked out a treat. We have flopped bottom 2 pair on a very dry flop. So we want to use a really small size here. I go for a quarter pot, 14,000. And Jake is definitely not going anywhere with a hand like this. He's got up and down straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. He's got a lot working for him here. Let's see what the turn brings. That turn is a total blank. 3 of spades. It couldn't be more of a blank. This board is Badoogie. When I say that, there is 1 of each suit on the board. That is what that means. Or a rainbow board. So there's no flush draws available. So when Jake eventually checks it over, I think we just want to use a fairly small size again. We don't need to bomb this. Now, the graphic's not actually updated just yet, but once it does, we'll see there's 8.7 blinds in the pot, and our opponent has 17, so he's got around 2x pot. So like we talked about earlier, we want to try and go geometric, so we want to bet a similar proportion of the pot on the turn as the river. So I decide on a sizing of 52k. So into 87, this is around 60%, and if he makes the call, the pot is going to be 190, and he's going to have around 120 behind. Again, around 60% of the pot. So I think I used a good size here, and we do see Jake making the call. He does like his up and down. So going to the river now, the pot is 191, Jake's got 120 behind, and we're hoping for a safe river. Let's see. 9 of spades, not the safest river in the deck. If he's continued with Jack Queen, then we're beat. But other than that, I think we've got the best hand. He snap jams, and I'm just like, well, I'm not folding my hand. Show me better. I snap it off, and he shows us the Jack-9 for third pair, turn into a bluff, and we take down a massive pot. After being patient all day, the 10-8 off is the one that rewards us, and suddenly we're over 500,000 chips and at our peak stack for the tournament. This was a great hand. Let's go. So this is the final spot on the stream. This is the last hand before we go to the final break of the day, and it's against one of my friends who I've actually played with a lot. Dave is a fellow gooner, and he opens up in the cutoff off of 34 blinds. We find ace-queen suited in the small blind covering. Now, this is a very strong hand, and we're happy to play for all the chips against Dave here. It's just about what sizing do we use. So when he's got 34 bigs, we don't really want to give him a price where he just calls a lot of stuff. I think we want to put him into a mode of like 4-bet or fold. So I actually chose a bigger sizing than usual, 8.7 blinds, which actually really threw Dave off a little bit, I think, here, because he was very confused as to what I use this size with, and he said he was considering 4-bet sending, so it sort of worked out how we wanted. I think if we make this like 65-70, I think he's going to call with King Jack suited, and now suddenly we're playing a bloated pot out of position with a strong hand but not a made hand, so that's why I chose to use this bigger sizing and just try to get a few more folds from these things that have quite good equity against us. As we can see, he's got 40% here. So it's a 6-4 race, this one, if we see what the card says. And sometimes these hands that he wants to see the flop with but doesn't want to call with, he might just send all in. So this is why I went for this size, and he eventually does make the laydown after using a time bank, and he was very confused as to what might have had there. But we take down this pot, and we're going on the last break of the day with 586,000. This is starting to turn into quite a nice sweat. Just 46 players left, and when we did get off stream, I did play a number of big pots, especially one with our friend Midi, who we spoke about earlier. So Midi had accumulated a huge stack and was playing a lot of hands by the end of it. I mean, a lot of hands. So we had this spot where we opened his big blind with pocket sevens, and the flop did come 9-9-7. So we flop a full house, and there's 2 spades out there. He checks it over, and we decide to bet a really small amount. We bet just 1.2 big blinds. We got the perfect reaction when Midi raises it up to 6 big blinds. So we're like, hello, we've got a full house. We are definitely calling. Don't want to let him get off the trap that easy. So we just call. Turn comes a 10 of spades, completing the flush. And he bombs again, 12.5 bigs. And this is music to my ears. I've got another 30 bigs behind, and I just can't wait for him to send them in on the river. So we flat call once again, setting the trap. We're not folding on any rivers. And the river comes another 10. Running out 9-9-7, 10-10. There's also a straight flush available, which is something to consider. So if he had have jammed, I wasn't folding, I don't think, but it would have been a tough spot. But he ends up actually checking, and it was a really confusing line. I'm like, what has he got? Sometimes I think I'm being trapped here, and sometimes I think he's just going to be giving up with a bluff. I ended up just checking back and saving my tournament life in case he was trapping. And he showed king queen with a king of spades, which was a hand that he was obviously just going to blast off with if it hadn't double paired on the river. But that was still a rather large pot, and we ended up bagging 720k for day 3 with 27 players coming back. The big blind is 20k, and we've got 36 big blinds to work with, playing for £200,000. Let's see how we get on day 3. So we went in day 3 with our 36 blinds, and we didn't really get anything playable for the first lap. So we lost our blinds, and we started this hand with 33.5 bigs. Now we open ace queen of clubs under the gun, and the big blind defends. Marius, Polish guy, plays very solid. The flop comes ace jack 10 with 2 clubs. So we flop top pair, a gut shot, and a royal flush draw, which is a good flop, I'm going to say. So our opponent checks it over, and we continue for 1.5 big blinds. He makes the call, and we see the ace of hearts on the turn, improving us to trips. He now checks it over, and I continued betting for 3 big blinds, thinking we've got a bit of a mega hand and we want to continue building this pot. Now our opponent raises to 7 blinds, which was immediately alarming, and to be honest, in hindsight, maybe I can check back this turn, because most of the time I'm going to have my opponent dead, so letting them improve is actually quite good. And then the times we are beat somehow, we get away for much cheaper. So in hindsight, I think maybe I could have found a check back on the turn here and just played a little bit of small ball as such. But as played, we're not folding for the extra 4 bigs. We've got trips, we've got a royal draw, we've got the flush draw. Like, we can't fold our hand. The river comes the 2 of clubs, which gives me the nut flush. Obviously, this is a pair board, but we have one of the aces in our hand. Now, we've got a pot size bet behind, but our opponent puts us all in. And I was immediately sick. I threw in all my time banks and did not like the situation, because although we've made the nut flush, our opponent is basically telling me he's got a better than the nut flush, to be honest. That is how I read this situation. So I'm in the tank, and I'm trying to talk to him, and I said to him, I don't think I can fold my hand. And if anything, I think I definitely can fold my hand, because he's basically telling me he's got a better hand. Now, is there any value hands there that maybe would play like this, that would still go for it? I think it's very speculative. Maybe king queen with a king of clubs, but I don't know about that. I don't know if they play in this way. Could our opponent just have ace queen himself? Obviously, there's not loads of combos of that left, and it would feel like a bit of an overplay. So when you break the spot down, when he plays like this in this line, I think the nut flush is never winning here. And when we deduce that, and we think our opponent is not someone that's going to ever bluff this spot, we just have to fold. We still had 20 big blinds left in this spot. And in hindsight, I really, really wish I found this fold. And who knows what I might have been able to do with them 20 bigs. There was just 25 players left. And the table was good. And I've been there before. I've had experience in these spots. And yeah, it was quite gutting. I eventually ended up making the call, because I thought in some world I might be nit rolling him. And he's just got a worse value hand. So the cameras were on, and I felt a bit of pressure, to be honest, and I ended up putting my stack in, and I got the bad news. He shows ace jack for top boat. This was a very, very sad hand, but I think for the reasons I said, I could definitely have got away from this by either checking back the turn, playing a smaller pot, or folding the river given the action. I think in hindsight, both of these are clear better decisions than putting the money in. I think this was quite an amateur call. I know it seems like a very strong hand. We've got the nut flush on a paired board where we've got an ace in our hand. But when you break it down like I just have, I really do think we're never going to see a worse hand than we have. So this was rather unfortunate, and I'm still pretty gutted about the outcome now. But live by the sword, die by the sword. I take the lessons from it, I move on, and yeah, in future, if I had this same spot, I would have took my time. I've got, I don't know, 8 time banks there. That's 4 minutes of time I had to really think this spot through, and I think if I had took that time, I would have come to the right decision and found the fold, but in the moment, that did not happen, and I end up busting the first hand I play on day 3 in 25th place, which was not quite what I'd hoped for at the start of the day, but that's the game, and I had to accept that. I cashed for £5,240, so I was in for 2 bullets, 1,500 a piece, so I made about 2,200 on this tournament. But yeah, it wasn't quite the 200k that I'd woke up dreaming about that day, but that's the game, and yeah, I can't get this hand back. On the live stream, you'll hear they actually thought that I had just ace queen. They didn't notice I had the flush, but it's pretty much the same spot. I'm just going to let the recording play out.
We have a spin over to and out of the table.
What we got now?
And on the river here, Alex Todd with the trip aces. We kick our calls off against Marius, who had the nuts for ace jack on the ace jack 10 board.
Of course he did.
Toddy called off the ace queen. Marius scooping chips towards him. GG, Alex Todd.
Alex Todd going, Marius scooping in. I still like how the ticket was all in with the chips underneath.
Yeah, GG indeed. And it was now day, and it actually turned out to be Marius's day. So the guy you just saw me bust to in that rather large pot went on to win the tournament. So fair play to him. My chips went to a good home. And like Tao said, the way he dragged the chips in to go all in with the ticket is quite funny. But even that is probably a sign of strength. That feels like a good hand when people do something like that. So lots of lessons to be taken, but yeah, GG in 25th. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed it, please be sure to give me a like, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment. All these things help me grow the channel. I can bring you better content in future. So be sure to look out for the next video. I'm going to have lots of stuff coming up. You know where to find me: Instagram, YouTube. They're the main spots. And yeah, lots to come around, all in events. You're going to hear more. Keep up to date on Instagram, check them out, and yeah, it's an exciting time. Hope you enjoyed the video.